You got to be thick-skinned. You got to adapt. Joel Saltic came here. He's a farmer. He wakes up at 5 in the morning, which is 2 in the morning California time. But when he was here, in Hollywood, we were out till 2 in the morning, and he just stayed up. He was adaptable. He was tough. Be tough. Be tough. Never be weak-willed, man. You can be. It's just you'll get blown by people. Other people will be tougher than you, and they'll just get what you freak out over. Those are the 4 things. I'm glad I added that 4th thing.
So what are the 4 things for the camera?
Number 1, do not be spacey. You have to have the ability to be able to focus. Some people cannot sit and read a book for 5 minutes without going, "Oh, Ty, how do I focus?" Like, you just focus. What do you mean? There's no solution. You just train yourself to be able to sit for 5 minutes. The second thing is don't be stubborn. If a better way is shown to you, just instantly start doing it the better way. The third thing is don't be proud. So if you stated one thing and then you're gonna have to go back on your initial statement, some people won't do it because they'll be like, "I look bad." But don't worry about looking bad. If you make a mistake, just be like, "Oops." The simplest word for a proud person is "Oops, my bad." Just move on. And then the 4th thing is people are too sensitive to everything. Like you can cut somebody off in traffic. There's a lot of people in the world, it'll ruin their whole day. Like there's people get mad for an hour, 2 hours, sad. If somebody writes on their Facebook wall, "Oh, you're ugly. Oh, you look fat." There's people that will take it to heart and literally just, you see their self-esteem. People say stuff to me, I'm just like, who cares? That's thick skin. If you put shrimp in front of Andrew, he turns into a freak, Beverly Hills rich kid with a butler bringing him custom-made peanut butter sandwiches whenever he's hungry. Well, you're not from the hood. I was around dudes from the hood. They were hungry. I told you, my best friend, man, this dude, he didn't have food Saturday and Sunday because his mom couldn't afford it. He ate school meals. Leon, whatever you put in front of him, I remember, this dude was hungry. So, that's hood, by the way. You go to India, you're like, 40 million kids are starving to death right now in India. You put shrimp in front of them, they're gonna eat shrimp. Can't be like, Herman is like that. Herman always tells me his army stories about how he was dropped off on an island. First of all, I'm like, Argentina Army, come on, man. This is like the color guard. This is like the funeral guard in our army. But he's like, I'm tough. I was dropped on an island. I had to eat snakes. I'm like, come on, I went one time and you hadn't eaten for 2 hours and we're in IKEA and you almost fainted. He's like, dude, I need food. My blood pressure dropped. I'm like, it's been 2 hours. Imagine being on a desert island with you now. You'd be the worst guy. I'm like, Navy SEALs are tough. I read a story about a Navy SEAL. The Navy SEAL guy went underwater. The other Navy SEAL guy panicked and broke his oxygen thing. And they were like...
The other one stayed under.
Well, no, they were like... He thought the sergeant was down there like, this guy's going to die. And the guy held his breath for 6 minutes and swam out of it. Most people would panic, die right there. So that's why I said it thins the herd. You don't want to be thinned. If you got to get up and run 20 miles because it's what you have to do, you just run. And the next thing you know, it'll be over.
So Ty, on point number 2, you said if somebody tells you a better way of doing things.
We should put this. You can do this for our blog? My blog?
Yeah, for yours.
Oh, good.
You said on point number 2, if somebody tells you a better way of doing things, you should just do it. So when is the balance between, because you also say only listen to people who are worth the damn. So
exactly. Listen to people. So I was at dinner before the Oscars. I went to lunch with Tommy Hilfiger, and I've always said logos aren't important. I said, Tommy, tell me 3 things I need to know to launch my clothing line. He goes, number 1, have a good logo. Right then I was like, okay, I'm changing my fucking stance. It used to be you don't need a logo, but this guy built a $1 billion brand. He knows that's adaptability and not being proud. So I changed I don't care. Somebody could laugh at me and be like, oh, you used to say logos aren't important. I'll be like, yeah, now I got better information. So I change. I don't
But you
care.
shouldn't always listen to everybody who tells you a better way.
Tommy fucking Hilfiger. When you're talking to clothing, that's like if you want to make a movie and Steven Spielberg says no, listen. But if your friend who, one time made a little uploaded a YouTube video. I might not listen to him, but if an OG talks to you, then you listen. That's what it really comes down to. If you listen to every opinion, you'll bounce around from side to side and never have a convictions and never. But when someone badass tells you something, then you change, and that's hard for people because the reason people don't listen to good advice is because they get burned by listening to dumb advice. Then they, when they're 15, they listen to their friend who said do this. They did it, and something horrible happened, and then they go, for the rest of my life, I'm just gonna go with my gut. Wow, bullshit. Your gut is only as good as your knowledge base. If I say, oh, you need heart surgery? Let me cut you open and go by gut. You don't want my gut. If I go, let me get on this airplane now, and I'm gonna fly this 747 to London, and they go, do you have any training? No, I just go with my gut. I'm a kind of gut. Well, gut doesn't know what buttons to press, what throttle, you're gonna crash and die. Gut is not only good for simple situations. And if somebody throws a punch at you, use your instinct and your gut to duck and move. Even that can be trained. If there's a loud noise when you're walking across the street, an 18-wheeler's coming at you, you don't want to write and think through logically, you just want to jump out of the way. But for other parts of your life that are more complicated, like starting a business, like building a real skill, then you don't use your gut because your gut is not built for that. The world's very complicated, man. If you want to be a real estate investor, you can't just go, well, my gut is, because when you use your gut, what you end up doing in the stock market or real estate is when prices are going up in real estate and all your friends are making money, you get really excited and you go, ooh, everybody's making money, let me make money. And then when you do that, you buy when it's high, and then when the market crashes, you freak out and go, oh my God, all the property, I bought it for $100,000, now it's worth $50,000. And you sell when it's low, and that's the herd mentality that makes you poor. So in situations like that, you actually have to go against your gut, and you have to go like Warren Buffett. He waits to when everybody's excited. He says, when everybody's excited, be afraid. And when everybody's afraid, get excited. So when the next big recession comes, that's your opportunity. Rockefeller, richest man probably in American history. His net worth in today's dollars was $600 billion. Okay, that's more than everybody basically combined in the top 5 or 10 on Forbes list. He said he made his money, I forget what it was, 1850s there was a recession, and 1890s he made it in the 1929 because he didn't just go with his gut, he went with his head combined with his gut. And if you're a very thin-skinned and sensitive person, you'll always flinch. Like today I was training with Rafael Cordero, and he was throwing punches and he said, don't blink. And that's totally against your instincts because your gut feeling says, when something comes towards your eye to close it. But when you box, you have to learn. If you close your eyes, you don't see the hook coming. You definitely don't see an uppercut. I got to talk a little bit with Floyd Mayweather at the game yesterday. Floyd Mayweather's a master. He keeps that hand like that and pops up that jab, and you don't see it coming, especially if you blink. Ken is finding this very exciting. Ken falls asleep exactly at the same time every day.
Now, Tai, you post a lot on your Instagram about, successful people and how they got rejected and, they end up creating a lot of successful businesses. Now, rule number 3 is, admit when you're wrong. Don't be stubborn. Right. Now, what's the line between stubborn and perseverance?
Wisdom. You get that over time. Joel Salton says you can't Google where to buy wisdom. There's no website. It'd be good if you could. Maybe one day they'll have a pill like Limitless. So you gotta make a few mistakes. But the general rule is you have to persevere to set up the experiment. But once the experiment starts to run, if it doesn't work, you shut it off real quick. So let me give you an example. Say you want to I'm in a restaurant. You want to start a restaurant. What most people do is go out, get a lease. They sign a 5-year lease for a restaurant. They, put $300,000 into the equipment. It's very expensive and all that. And then when it's not working, when they open the doors and not many people buy, they just stay with it for years and years. What you want to do is, thank you. What you want to do is find a way
to use your brain, put in the hard work to set up an experiment that's not very costly. For example, make 3 of your best dishes and invite 100 people from your church to come over and put the 3 dishes out like all you can eat, and then see which of those 3 dishes are eaten first and which are left alone. Now you're testing on a small experiment. Now if all 3 of those plates nobody eats it, then you just don't make a restaurant. But you have to put in the work to invite the 100 people there. That takes labor. You have to put in the work to cook the 3 different dishes and things like that. So that you put your work into setting up the experiment. Then once it rolls, you adapt very quickly. You just turn it off. You go, oh, all this food I make, nobody ate it, everybody hated it, and then went and bought, Domino's because they didn't like my food at my barbecue. And then you go, well, maybe I'm not meant to be in the restaurant business, or maybe I need to just roll out some more dishes. So that's the difference. People are stubborn at the wrong time. There's evidence that it's working, but some outside force comes and messes it up. So you start a business. You're a real estate investor and you invest in a few pieces of property, you flip them, you make some money, and then all of a sudden the recession comes and it's hard to get bank loans because the banks all of a sudden are afraid to loan money. Well, at that point, you may want to be stubborn and stick with it through the hard times and figure out ways to get loans from people who aren't banks. They call it hard money loans. In fact, at the Laker game I sat on, me and T.O. went to, I was sitting next to a guy that's one of the biggest alternative lenders. So if your bank won't give you money for real estate, he will give you money. And so you have to persevere because the first experiment showed it was working. So once you have evidence that this thing might work, then you got to stick to it. But where people mess up is they stick to something that's not working. A lot of people marry a girl or a guy that they fought the whole time they were dating. That's just being stubborn. If you're fighting a whole bunch of time when you're dating, it's going to get worse when you get married. We can do the prank of the day on Kenneth. Oh, damn it, she woke up. And,
I got like 3.5 hours of sleep.
I want to give you a hug. What?
No, wait, what are you doing? What is that, ice cube?
I put an ice cube in your ear. My stepdad, if you wouldn't wake up, he used to take a pot of water and pour it on you. Man, nobody sleeps through that. He was the king. Benny. Ken has good hair. It's like part Asian, part Italian hair. Actually, you're not Italian, are you? Are you? She's English.
So the time when you launch something and you try something,
Yeah.
and you notice,
Now you gotta pan this way.
and you notice it's not working,
Right.
or it's not. I'm gonna say that it's not working, but maybe you got a couple obstacles.
Yeah.
What would you first suggest doing?
So you gotta
Back
do
to
it-
the beginning to kind of sort of like
Start all over?
Yeah, and just kind of tweaking the play a little bit. So instead
So
of
like, let's say that's an example of the real estate. You buy a piece of real estate, first one, the bank gives you a loan, you put a little money down, you buy the real estate, you fix it up, you sell it, and you make 50 grand.
Okay.
Then the next one you go to do, after you buy it, you find out there's some zoning issues. You're not allowed to, do what you thought you could do. That's where you probably don't want to start over at the beginning. You know what works for your real estate in that case. So that's where you have to persevere, yeah. And what you would do is set up a micro experiment around the one obstacle. So let's say there the obstacle is the bank won't give you money. Zoning is the issue. So then you have to experiment, how do you change the zoning? You have to learn that. That's a new skill. And guys like Gary Keller, I talked to him on the phone, I interviewed him recently, and he started the #1 residential real estate company in the world. He said he learned to go to the zoning board and how to talk to them and get them to change it. But whatever you're in, the micro, you always have obstacles, man. It's like war. Battles roll in front of you all the time. If you want to conquer something big, change your life, it's like a war. And so all these great guys, whether it's General MacArthur in World War II, you know what he said?
I will be back.
Yep.
He failed. He had to evacuate the Philippines. The Japanese invaded. He left. He rolled back later.
Yeah.
And he won in the end. My uncle actually was in the army in World War II and went with MacArthur. He told me a crazy story. MacArthur and them rolled into this Indonesian, or somewhere in Indonesia, a prison camp where the Japanese had basically tortured American troops and not fed them, and all the American troops were super skinny guys. And his general, it wasn't MacArthur, it was a general, said, you know what? Tomorrow we hang the Japanese generals. And so the next day, we hung them all. They didn't have much court back then. World War II, they had a little bit of that vigilante justice.
Alright.
But you torture people long enough, you might get hung. That has nothing to do with the story, but it did remind me of my uncle. He died at 99, man. He was still a card player. Smart guy. Anyway, the answer is you will have little battles, and you will always lose some little battles, just period. Don't lose the war. Keep your eye on the big picture. If you're an entrepreneur, why are you an entrepreneur? Is it because you love starting businesses, or because you want to feed your family, or because you want an extra source of income, or is it because you want to be able to travel and not have to work at a 9 to 5? Like, what's your reason for being there? And that's the war. And as long as you win that war, like me, I'm an entrepreneur because lifestyle, and because I'm also creative, and I like to be able to be here. Are you gonna make? I'm gonna have to carry you to the car.
I'm so tired.
Kenna finds these very interesting. So, am I the most interesting person you've ever met, Kenna? Just by the evidence of you instantly falling asleep when I talk. That's why Kenna hangs out with me. My voice puts her to sleep right away. Uh-oh, it's a Thai talk. And when Kenna falls asleep, it's actually ridiculous. That's why I wanted to test the ice cube in your ear. I'm like, it might not wake her up. She might actually still stay asleep. That's why the best prank to wake somebody up, these college kids, took a guy's shoes off that had passed out, like alcoholic knockout. They put matches between each of his toes and lit them all. That dude was laying like this, had 10 matches between his toes. That woke him up, boy, because when you jump up, the matches stay in there. He's running around. Anyway, all right, that's my late night Chinese sushi. We're gonna call it Interviews with Andrew. Andrew's face was like, hell yeah. Andrew, why do you look so intense when I said that? He loved that idea. Andrew turned, this was my impression of Andrew. Interviews with Andrew. Why do you get so pumped? He was talking about this Akon. I was bringing up Michael Jackson, great musicians, Elvis Presley, not Britney Spears, Mariah Carey. We were talking about, who else? R. Kelly, great voices, Lady Gaga, and he started bringing up, what'd you bring up, Fetty Wap? He brought up every T-Pain. Come on, man, you can't, but that's like I'm talking about Lambos and Ferraris, and he's talking about Ford Tauruses.
Prius.
You can't have a Ford Taurus conversation in a Lambo. I'm gonna bring you to the Ferrari Club in Beverly Hills. You're gonna roll in and be like, but did you see that new Taurus? It's got automatic windows. I think we're like, Ty, who are you bringing to our Ferrari? We're talking about Ferraris. We're talking about Lambos. Michael Jackson is an Aventador. He's a Lamborghini. Do not bring up Fetty Wap, thank you. Drake is who he really likes. He thinks Drake is a Lamborghini. Maybe. You know how you know who's an icon and a legend? They have to pass the test of time. 40 years later, people have to still be excited. Maybe Drake will. Maybe Justin Bieber will. Oof. The test of time, there's so many great musicians that nobody listens to anymore. Great ones. If you have been born in the 60s, people, just take like, what's that guy that Elvis loved? Such a great singer. It was one of Elvis's mentors. Now nobody even knows his name. It's hard to pass the test of time. A few people do. That's the highest level in life. Legend. Icon. Jay-Z. He'll be a legend. he's already legend status. Drake's not there yet. Maybe he will be. He'll earn it, or maybe not. All right, Kenneth. Peace out, everybody.